me little custard tarts. Today I'm going to be unboxing the Simple Tarot from Angie Green. This was actually sent to me by Angie, so I want to start by thanking her sincerely for giving me the opportunity to offer some opinions on this and have a little play with it. And I was very excited particularly to be offered a copy of the Simple Tarot because it's a resource for tarot beginners. It's actually a deck that is geared towards helping those who are right at the beginning of their tarot journey. And as you guys know, a long time ago, or a lot of you will know, I made a 10-part trainee tarot course on my channel. It was one of the big projects that I did on my YouTube channel. And it was basically just a 10-part resource for those who are right at the beginning of their journey. And I actually won an award for that. I won a Tarosophy award for that in 2013, which was lovely. And it's been one of those things that people have returned to and they've really appreciated. There's a lot of tarot trainee tarot alumni watching in my audience, so it really makes sense to me that I should be unboxing and giving first impressions of the Simple Tarot, because I know that so many people found my channel through the trainee tarot course or incidentally ended up watching it and found that it really helped them on their journey. And the main thing I loved about doing trainee tarot was that so many people told me at the end that they couldn't really get on with books. They either are, you know, they find it difficult to read, dyslexia prevents them from feeling very comfortable reading, they just couldn't, it wouldn't really go in. And so a lot of people that found trainee tarot and found that it hit the sweet spot were those people that just couldn't really be getting on with other kinds of resources, and my video course kind of like cinched it for them. So that really made me happy, and I really love the fact that people put so much effort, so much thought into the resources for beginners, because it can be difficult sometimes to find a way in, and it can be an intimidating system, and there are a lot of different resources out there. And so it's really awesome, I think, when people turn their hand to creating something for beginners, and I really appreciate that because it's something that I did in the past as well. So without further ado, I actually have already started the unboxing because I'm that excited. So let me open this up and I will tell you guys what I'm thinking. Okay, so there's a card here that says, thanks so much for agreeing to take a look at this. I can't wait to have your thoughts, Angie. Thank you so much, Angie darling. I'm very excited. Okay, so I am in, guys. Oh, there's a sticker. Oh, it feels all official. It is all official, Kelly. Okay, there is a book that is a lot more hefty than just an LWB, guys. Wow. The Simple Tarot Deck Companion Guidebook by Angie Green. This looks really good, really in-depth. Exactly what you need, of course, because I think little white books, for beginners, they're just not going to cut the mustard, are they? They don't feel very welcoming a lot of the time. They're small and kind of like fiddly, and they're easily lost if you don't keep everything together. They just don't feel very hospitable. They don't really feel welcoming. Like, you don't want to dive in. You can't exactly underline and highlight things and whatnot, can you? It's just like a teeny little thing. So I think it's highly appropriate that this comes with more than just a little white book. Let me take a look at the companion guidebook and let's see what's actually in here. This is a really beautiful, very well made book, and it says here about the Simple Tarot. The Simple Tarot deck is a modern tarot deck designed to guide your self-discovery and personal development. The Simple Tarot deck follows the traditional card meanings and symbolism found in the classic Waite-Smith Tarot. Okay, super exciting. Okay, so in the guidebook it says how to use this guide. Section 1 introduces you to the cards and how to use them in your life. Section 2 gives you a short description of each card with card meanings, interpretations and actionable advice. Section 3 includes common symbols you'll see on the cards, which will help you to read any tarot deck based on the Waite-Smith tradition. This is so gorgeous, accessible and easy to use, guys. So you've got a page each, you've got a page per card for the major arcana with some details about each, and you've got the same with the minor arcana as well. Every single card has its own dedicated page and a few paragraphs of substantial information, so really impressed with this. And then you've got here at the back some details about the elements and the symbols for the elements, which is great. And then you've got some details on numerology, basic numerology, which is awesome. And you've got a page per number there. This is great. This is really accessible for beginners. And you've even got some information on the court cards as a group, and then broken down into the pages, the knights, queens and kings. So you really just couldn't ask for more. And then at the back you've got some details on other symbolism, so water and earth, mountain, crown, rose, moon, sun. Guys, already just from the look of this book, I'm feeling incredibly assured that this is a really good resource for beginners, and I haven't even gotten into the deck yet. Angie has just managed to think of a lot of the things that would stump somebody who's right at the beginning of their journey. The only thing I would probably like to see in here that I don't see is some details on spread design. Maybe just a few little simple spread designs would be great, but it's really not necessary, because come on, how many resources are there online for free that help you to design effective spreads? So it's really not the end of the world, and so much other stuff has been thought of here with the Simple Tarot Deck book, so really impressed with that. Oh, I've got some postcards here. Oh, they're really cute as well. Thank you. I could always do with postcards. I love to send a postcard. Okay. So there's also a cheat sheet here, which is brilliant, and this is mountable on the wall. So I'll have a little look at this later once I've actually unboxed, but you can see here that you've got the major arcana down this side, and then you've got the colour-coded 4 suits down this side. This looks absolutely deliciously usable and accessible for beginners. So this is great. And then I've got here the little bag with the deck inside. So let's get into it. And did I bring some scissors? Yes, I did. Look at me, not actually succumbing to my usual rookie moves. Okay, so I am into the Simple Tarot by Angie Green, and we have got this backing. Very sweet and simple, very eye-catching. As far as I'm aware, Angie has actually done a version of the Simple Tarot that doesn't have the keywords, that is just, you know, simply the images without the keywords. But the version of the deck that has been sent to me is the one with the keywords on it that beginners are going to need to use. And I'm definitely really happy about that. I wanted to take a look at the one with the keywords because I want to put myself into the mind of a beginner. I want to look at the keywords and just look at the tool and just think, would I really be able to use this? Would I be able to lean into this? Is this something that would be really of use? Let's take a look first of all at the Fool. So let's go right in there with the card numbered 0. So here you've got, let's have a look. So you've got the Fool at the bottom. You've actually got the title, the Fool, and the number for the Fool. And then over the top, you've got innocence and enthusiasm. Your journey has begun. So that gives you a little bit of a flavour and a little bit of a taste of what the Fool card is all about. And to me, straight away, right off the bat, that is a really good description. Very good key statements there. Innocence and enthusiasm are really good keywords, and your journey has begun. Really, that just does exactly what it says on the tin. That is, when you boil it down, one of the best simple interpretations for the Fool. And then I can see here that there's an image, and then there are descriptions for the image. So you've got here the leaping figure, and it says here, Young Adventurer is the title for the figure. Then underneath, the description says, Leaping into the Unknown. Very appropriate for the Fool card. And then you've got Faithful Dog here is the other figure, and it says, You're Not Alone, which is really a very interesting, simplistic but very profound description, I think, of what the dog is all about and how it could be interpreted in the Fool card. So straight away, this gives me a very strong indication. This deck is not about looking sexy. This deck is not about being visually desirable. It's not about being Instagrammable. It's not about flexing for the gram, baby. It's about actually really getting into it, really diving deep. And you know what, already just from looking at this very first card, I feel that the Simple Tarot could be very well put together with the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. So if you are actually working with the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot or a comparable deck as a beginner, this would be a really good companion deck, and you could work the two very comfortably alongside each other. I very much enjoy the figure for the Magician. It looks very Saturday Night Fever, which I actually think is very very appropriate for the Magician. And then above the title, the Magician, you have the words self-confidence, empowered, creativity. I think those are really appropriate for the Magician. You've got the infinity symbol over the head, and then you've got a description there that says infinity, so it actually sort of draws your attention to the infinity symbol. And then underneath for the infinity symbol, you have the words endless personal power, which I think is a more than appropriate way of labelling the use of the infinity symbol in the Magician card. And then you've got these amazing sort of like almost neon lights of the 4 Magician's tools in the background, so I definitely can't argue with that. Let's take a look at the Emperor and the Empress together, guys. So the Empress is actually outlined with the heavily pregnant belly. I know that that's not actually preferable for a lot of people, but I do think for a beginner it can be one of those pieces of symbolism that is incredibly helpful. Let's face it, it is also quite common, so it's definitely not inappropriate. And it says here fertility and creation, abundant sensuality, and I think Angie is definitely done enough to make you think about things other than pregnancy and literal physical fertility. So you've got here the figure labelled woman, and underneath the descriptor receptive energy, and then you've got garden labelled here with the physical, and you've got here the sort of abundant garden and the sheaths of wheat. So I feel like definitely there's a lot there that you can work on, and there's a lot that you can get from this, and I'm sure the book fleshes out the symbolism and the meaning so much more. And then if you take a look at the Emperor, you've got here structure and stability, strategy and leadership, and you've got a man in a suit with the subheading active energy, as opposed to the Empress's receptive energy. And then you've got here the crown on top of the Emperor's head with the subheading mastery. This definitely is making me think about some of the easy ways that I've boiled down the dual energies of the Emperor and the Empress when I'm working with clients who are right at the beginning of the journey. It definitely makes me think about the conversations that can be had when you are talking with someone who's just starting out versus the conversations that you have later down the line when you start to delve so much more into the energies of the Empress and Emperor, and things become incredibly more nuanced, you know, and you really just start to go right off the beaten track, and it becomes about so much more than that masculine feminine duality of active and receptive and whatnot. And I think that as a starting point, Angie's done really well in just breaking these two things down and looking at them as we would usually teach to a beginner. So for the Chariot, you've got quite a nice looking classic car, and the descriptor is take action now, confidence and ambition. Again, I think this is really appropriate, very suitable. And then for the label for the actual image, the label is vehicle, and the subheading is quickly moving forward, which again I think is highly appropriate. Oh, I really like the Hermit. The Hermit has got a lot of style to it. It says here spiritual illumination, solitude and introspection. Very great keywords there and phrases for the Hermit. And then you've got this guy doing this really rather retro film noir kind of pose up against a lamppost with the hat and everything. I really like this silhouette, and I really enjoy the lamp. It's really pretty. I like the light emanating from it. And then the subheading for the lamp is wisdom, which is wholly appropriate, and really this breaks down the symbolism and the meaning of the Hermit very well. Oh wow, Wheel of Fortune is very, very colourful. I very much enjoy this. There's so much to it. It is very visually pleasing actually. The description of the energies for the card is gambling and good fortune. I would probably have gone for something like changing fortunes or something of that nature, because of course it can be very up and down. And then I would have also put words like risk, chance, or maybe fate or destiny, which it can also mean. Having said that though, you can see that the subheading for the label of wheel on the actual card is changing luck. So I think Angie does go some way towards conveying that it's not just good luck that is represented by the wheel, but it's changing luck. And of course, I'm sure the guidebook goes into that adequately as well. So in the companion book for the Wheel of Fortune card, Angie says, usually a good omen. The Wheel of Fortune suggests lucky success and good fortune. There is an element of things changing for the better, so go for it and take your chances. Good luck is usually about being well prepared and standing in the right place at the right time. There will soon be a major change in your life. This card works quickly to help your luck along. Put yourself out there by asking inspiring and influential people for actionable advice about a single problem you are facing. So it doesn't actually convey the other side of the coin so much. It does err more on the positive side. I do like the fact though that she has put in there some practical, actionable advice that you can think about taking. I really enjoy this death card. It says here endings and closure, transformation and change. That's really appropriate. So the labels here for the skull, you've got here skeleton, memento mori, which is really awesome. And if somebody didn't know what that meant at all, they could go on an interesting exploration into that just all on its own. And then the symbol for rose is rebirth. So this is a really nice card, and I actually think this is aesthetically pleasing. If I was to purchase the classic version without the keywords and things like that, that definitely wouldn't be an unpleasing death card to me. So let's take a look at the minor arcana now. We're beginning with the suit of wands, so I'm going to go right in with the ace of wands, and you've got here this very prominent wand in the foreground, and then in the background you've got this emanating light and this energy, and that is labelled with sun, and the subheading is optimism. That's an interesting choice, because I don't know if I would have preferred to have labelled the wand itself rather than putting the sun into the proceedings at all. You know, because to me, I don't directly connect the element of fire with the sun itself as an actual orb and as a symbol. But anyway, the description for the energy of Ace of Wands is the urge to create new projects or ideas. And I think that is obviously perfect for what Ace of Wands is all about. I really like the look of this particular suit. I've got here Two of Wands, and the description is determination, planning for the future, and I think that's really appropriate. You've got a globe here that is kind of floating between the two wands, and the globe is labelled with the words seeing the big picture, which I think is a really good way of interpreting the use of the globe in the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot and other comparable systems or other comparable illustrations. That really cuts to the heart of it, I think. Oh, I really love Three of Wands, guys. You've got a figure here with some binoculars standing by the three wands, kind of looking out with the binoculars. I think that's really clever. That's a really good way of doing it. So the description for the energy of the card is optimism for success, working with others. And then you've got the label for the figure, looking into the distance, waiting for future results. I do think, again, there's a very positive slant with the meaning of this particular card. We do also need to be aware, of course, that a lot of the time the figure in Three of Wands is scared of moving into that new terrain. So the fact that there's been a focus placed on optimism with Three of Wands is fine, but it's definitely a long way from being the whole animal, isn't it? We do also want to remember that there is usually a lot of fear going on with the figure, or sometimes self-sabotage, because they are feeling fearful of stepping into the new terrain. I really enjoy the Seven of Wands card. You've got a real sense of the action going on here, and you can see the whole body fighting against these wands, which is cool. But I also like the fact that there is one wand like stood in the earth, very sturdy, very stable, and then you've got the figure kind of lining up against it as though that is the strength of the figure, and that is the mindset and the energy of the figure who's doing the fighting against these other forces. So I think that's really clever. The description for the energy of Seven of Wands is self-defense, stand your ground, and then you've got here under attack is the label for the illustration, defend what is yours. So I suppose that sturdy wand that's planted into the ground is a representation of what belongs to the figure and what the figure is fighting to defend. With Queen of Wands, we see here the description, a passionate creator, courage and self-assurance, which I think are very appropriate words and phrases for Queen of Wands. There is also a really good example here of how the symbols and the meanings for the symbols are repeated throughout the Simple Tarot, so that you can really start to get a sense of what the symbols can mean and how you can associate them with different themes. So here you've got crown, and that is labelling the crown on the head of Queen of Wands, and we've seen that previously with the Emperor card, and it says mastery, which is the exact same descriptor as we had for the crown in the Emperor card. We also see the label woman with the subheading receptive energy, which we've seen previously with the Empress. So you can see here that every time particular symbols come up, the same descriptions are repeated, so that you get that sense over time of what these symbols mean and you feel comfortable with them. The suit of swords for the element of air is yellow, and it's very eye-catching, very striking. Let's take a look at Two of Swords. The description here for the energy of the card is compromise is needed, a stalemate in negotiations. I definitely would have chosen to put something in there about decision making and using the intuition or going within to make a decision. I very much appreciate that interpretation of Two of Swords, where it's about not being able to see all of the different variables, but having to make your your decision regardless of that. I really like the way the blindfold has been labelled with unseen options, and the moon is labelled as intuition. I really appreciate the way Page of Swords includes a child flying a kite, and it says here, a talkative child learning the truth. That's an interesting interpretation that I haven't really come across before, the idea of a talkative child as being synonymous with the Page of Swords energy, and I really actually enjoy that. And I also like the fact that the kite has been labelled with air, the intellect, and it's just that idea of flying a kite through the air. That's really interesting and different, and I really appreciate that for a beginner's interpretation that you could offer. Ten of Swords always manages to look dramatic, doesn't it, no matter what the situation. So you've got here the body with the swords, but I really enjoy the way the swords are drawn, and they really kind of jump out at you. It's like a pop-up book kind of thing, and I really like that. And it says here, the worst is over, hitting rock bottom. And the illustration is labelled, person stabbed, a painful ending. And I think that's entirely appropriate. I do like the fact that some of these swords in the foreground are more boldly drawn than the ones in the background. I do think that there is an aesthetic quality to that I like. It's green for the suit of pentacles, guys, which is appropriate. And let's just take a look at Three of Pentacles. That looks amazing with the cross hammers in the sky there. You've got here apprenticeship, teamwork and collaboration. I think those are very appropriate themes. And the label for the illustration says tools, craft and skill. I would have liked the label there for the pentacles as well, but I do like the shaking hands and the idea that there's been an agreement struck about the parameters of a collaboration that's going on there. So I do appreciate that. Five of Pentacles is very visually interesting. You've got there the great big stained glass window in the background being sort of amplified. The description for the energy is financial trouble, isolation and insecurity, which I think is appropriate. And then you've got the image labelled illness, hard times. Again, it's not going to be hard for you to pick up the energy and the implication of Five of Pentacles from that as a beginner, which is really good. Four of Pentacles does take it a little bit out of the box, which is great with the illustration. So you've got here hoarding and greed, seeking long-term security. Those particular keywords and phrases definitely would plunge you into a very interesting exploration as a beginner. And then you've got here the figure holding this giant heavy coin, and the label is heavy coins, responsibility of wealth. That takes it out of the box a little bit from what normally I think a beginner would be able to get hold of. So I do think that there is some nuance in that is really nice to see. I really enjoy the words that have been chosen for Knight of Pentacles. A methodical person, patience and hard work. And then you've also got that note there of the physical for the garden, reminding you that this is about the material, this is about the earthly. And I do like the stance of Knight of Pentacles as well. It's a very confident pose there. So I do appreciate that. I'm now moving into the final suit of the four, which is the suit of Cups, which is blue in the Simple Tarot. So let's take a quick look at some of these. Okay, it is seriously party time for Three of Cups in the Simple Tarot. These poses are amazing. This is a total rave up here from these three figures. And the themes and the keywords are friendship and support, celebrating with others. I think that's perfect as a kind of inning for a beginner to get more of a sense of what Three of Cups is all about. And then you've got here dancing friends, shared joy. I really like that. I think that's you know, really helpful, and you definitely couldn't argue with that as a definition and as a way to give a beginner a sense of what the card is all about. Oh, I really like Six of Cups. Gifts and simple pleasures, happy memories and reunions. And you've got this kind of more, I guess, modernised or up-to-date version of the children having that interaction there. The labels on the illustration are children, innocence, and flowers, sensual delights. I'm really not sure how I feel about the word children being on the same card as the word sensual, and I will just say that for the record, it's not doing it for me, because I feel like there's a child holding the flowers. So as much as flowers can be about sensual delights and they can be about sensuality, in this theme, in this particular setting, with the illustration being children, not so keen on that one. I just feel like the associations are both appropriate, but I don't want them to be in the same card. I really do like Ten of Cups very much. I like the way that the very sort of simplified, stripped down rainbow is there with the cups behind. It looks like the archway into an amazing nightclub. I actually like the fact that a lot of the different coloured lines in this deck remind remind me of neon, you know, like neon lights, like that neon pipe work kind of lighting that you can get. And it just makes me think of nightlife and city life and stuff. I don't know if anyone else is getting that same kind of vibe or if it's just me. I do like the archway that's being made by the adult figures and then the children within the archway. It says here, rainbow, joyful positivity, as a representation of the rainbow in the illustration. And then you've got here family, contentment, happiness and security, which is definitely fair. That's definitely a really good way to sort of boil down the 10 of Cups meaning for beginners. I just want to go back very briefly to the Simple Tarot cheat sheet that I showed you guys at the beginning. And now, having actually looked through the deck, I can let you know that the cheat sheet actually provides more keywords and phrases that were not featured on the cards. So it's not just like, here's a quick and simple way to see everything that's written on the cards. It actually provides other things. So I'll just give you a quick example. So with the Fool, the description for the card was innocence and enthusiasm, your journey has begun. And on the cheat sheet, you've got different words. So it says here, fresh hope, take chances, new paths and adventures, beginnings. And it's like that throughout. So the cheat sheet actually provides even more for you to be getting on with. So if you were a beginner and you wanted to perhaps blue tack this to the wall or hole punch it and have it in your planner or something like that, or you wanted to lay it out while you were going through the cards, you could do that and it would actually add something to the proceedings. It's not just repeating what's on the cards, it actually gives some fresh insights as well. So the cheat sheet is definitely worth having. Darlings, thank you so much for sitting with me as I've gone through some of the cards from Angie Green's Simple Tarot. Angie, thank you so much for letting me take a look at this deck. I really appreciate it, and so far so good. I think it would make an amazing resource for beginners, and like I said, I'm going to have a little bit of a play with actually kind of combining it with the Rider-Waite-Smith and seeing how I get on with that. If anybody has any questions about this deck, if you're thinking about purchasing it, particularly the beginner's version with the keywords, please leave them down below. I'll try and get back to any questions in order to help you to understand whether or not this would be a good purchase for you. Again, thank you so much for sitting with me while I did this unboxing and first impressions. So much love, darlings, and blessed be.